Good morning, guys. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Jen, single mom, artist, and entrepreneur. This channel is all about building a life that you love. Now, if you've been around at all, you know that a big part of my life is doing markets. I am on my way to Madison, Indiana for a market down there called Harvest Fest, which also happens to coincide with the Madison Chautauqua, which is a very, very long-running art show in Madison. So tons and tons and tons and tons of people come into town for this art festival every single year. This year is going to be a crapshoot because Helen hit landfall in Florida yesterday, and we here in Indiana are getting what is left of her today, tomorrow, and Sunday. So it's pouring down rain today. We're supposed to have high winds this afternoon. Today was originally supposed to be the day that we set up. I don't think I'm going to set up today. I think I'm going to wait and go super early tomorrow morning to set up, probably about 5 a.m. We need to be set up by 8 a.m. at the latest, and the event starts at 9. It's supposed to be a rainy weekend. Temperature-wise, it's supposed to be amazing. It's going to be like right at 70 degrees, which is fabulous for markets. That's just a great temperature, but it's going to be wet. So hopefully the people are still going to come out. A lot of times they do. Rain doesn't keep me away. There's no storms predicted. It's just rain. So ideally, it won't make much of a difference. And it's scattered rain at that. It's not, I don't think it's going to be a total washout of the weekend. And here's the other piece of that, guys. Madison is in the Ohio River Valley. It does what it wants. It does not follow predicted weather patterns. It does not follow forecasts. It does what it wants. The Ohio River Valley does what it wants. So it could turn out to be beautiful both days. We could literally have no rain at all, or we could have exactly what they're forecasting, or we could have something worse. There's no telling. Ideally, this is not how I would want my weekend to go. I would want my weekend to be a little more certain. But I'm not in charge of that. So here we are. Obviously, I'm in the car because I'm driving. And the wind is pushing me around just a little bit because it is windy already. We're supposed to have 30 to 40 mile an hour wind today. It's supposed to die down overnight. Tomorrow it's like 5 to 10 mile per hour wind. That's fine. My tent can handle that. My weights can handle that. No big deal. 30 to 40, we're getting iffy. We're getting real iffy. That's not ideal tent weather. So, like I said, I'm going to wait and do setup tomorrow morning. But I already have an Airbnb for tonight and tomorrow night, so I may as well head on down. My dad actually happens to live in Madison, and my mom is right outside of Madison, so I'm going to visit with family anyway. So it all kind of works out for me to go on down today anyhow. So I'm going to go have lunch with my dad. Then I'm going to go to the venue and check in and find out where my booth space is, so that when I show up at the booty crack of dawn at 5 a.m. tomorrow to set up, there's no trying to figure out where I'm going, because it's already done. It's already figured. And that is the most ideal situation for me, just to be able to go and drop and get to work, because I already know where my stuff is going and what to expect. So anyway, this is how it begins. A rainy, yucky drive to Madison, Indiana. So we decided to set up, I say we because my friend Sherry was also at this event as well. We decided to set up at 5 a.m. on Saturday. Originally, the setup was scheduled for Friday afternoon before 6 p.m. But on Friday, not only was it raining all day, but there were 40 mile an hour wind gusts, which do not go well with tents. So we decided to set up on Saturday morning, and we actually decided to arrive at 5 a.m. The event started at 9, and what the plan was to set up, go back to our Airbnb, change into dry clothes because it was supposed to be pouring down rain during setup, which it is. You can't really see that because it's dark, because it's 5 a.m., but it is pouring down rain, so we are getting drenched the whole time we're setting up and unloading our cars. So the plan was to go back to our Airbnb and change into dry clothes, which we had time to do, and that worked out just fine. So I set my tent up before I even got my camera out because, again, it was pouring down rain. I think you can see, if you look out into some of the puddles, you can actually see that it is raining. So now I'm unloading my car and also setting things up as I go. Now, I put my grates up on one side of the tent, and then later I realized that that's not the side I want them on, because my tent walls, one tent wall has a door in it, and I want to be able to get in and out of my booth via that door. And if I put my grate on the side that I hung it on initially, then I have a table blocking the door on the other side. So ultimately I'm going to move that grate, but for the moment, that's where I put it. I'm putting the weights on the tent to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere, and unloading more stuff from the car. There's a table. I just needed a place to set some of these things, so I went ahead and set it up. I'm getting my other tables out now. And this is very soon when I realize that I don't want my grates that I hang my stained glass from on that side of the tent. Yep, just made that decision. Now I'm moving them. This setup did take close to 2 hours. The rain is a big piece of that, though, because I had to pull everything under my tent, which also meant that I moved things more times than should have been necessary. I had to move them several times to get things in and out of my way, but also keep them dry inside the tent. So I'm hanging my big pieces currently that I brought with me. I don't generally sell very big pieces at markets, but this market is a little different, or at least I thought it was going to be a little different than other markets, and there's always a chance that I'm going to sell big pieces, so I can't sell what I don't have with me. So I brought these big pieces. Now I'm getting my table set up. Other vendors are starting to arrive now, so we are not alone anymore. We were alone for about the first hour, and then around 6, some other people started showing up. So it got a little busier and a little more chaotic pretty quickly. I'm putting tablecloths on now. Placing stuff where it's actually going to go on those tables. Setting up in the dark is quite a feat because you can't actually see what you're doing, so you're just kind of guessing most of the time, which is interesting. I've obviously started unpacking actual product now. I'm hanging some lanterns, and quickly it's going to occur to me to turn these lanterns on so that I have a little bit of light. I'm sad to admit that it took me longer to consider that than it should have, because here I am putting other stuff out yet now, and I still haven't turned these lanterns on because I just didn't even think about it. I went to ask Sherry something, I think. Now it's occurred to me, hey, I do have light. I just have to use it. It made a big difference, actually. Suddenly, I could actually see what the heck I was doing. And that became a very, very helpful thing. On top of stained glass infused glass, I also brought my stained glass inspired stationery, my stickers that are using my stained glass designs, greeting cards that have fused glass in them, or on them rather, mugs and glass can cups that have stained glass designs on them. That's what I'm putting up right now. So yeah, all of that is additional products that I've just recently added to my offerings. Putting up my checkout table. Okay, I'm really close to the camera. Sorry about that. It was just a necessity. It's too bad it's so dark and you can't see how wet I am. Alright, I'm finally hanging stuff on my grate. My stained glass sun catchers. Getting all this done was quite a feat. It did take close to 2 hours to finally get set up. It was about 10 after 8 when we decided to head back to the Airbnb. No, that's not true. It was about 10 after 7 when we went back to the Airbnb. As you can see, there are more and more vendors arriving now. It's probably 6:30, 6:45, somewhere in there currently on this recording. So more and more vendors are arriving. Keep seeing car lights lighting up my tent. It's interesting. I never expected to be setting up in the dark like this. I thought it was going to get lighter a lot faster, actually. I was surprised by how long it stayed dark. And this is about when we decided that we were gonna go change clothes and come back and finish what little was left to do. Good morning, guys. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm all set up here at Harvest Fest at the Lanthier Winery in Madison, Indiana, and it is pouring down rain. Let me show you. This is the view from inside my tent. My neighbor across from me didn't bother to show up because it's raining, and it's raining pretty good. But it's okay. It's gonna be a good day. I have decided. Technically, setup was supposed to be yesterday, but there were high winds, so I waited until 5 a.m. this morning to come set up. We needed to be set up by 8, and I knew I would be setting up in the rain. So I wanted to have time to go back to my Airbnb and change into dry clothes so that I could at least spend some of the day dry. So I was successful. I got set up by about 7 and went back, changed, made myself human, and then came back. So now I'm just sitting under my tent, hoping it doesn't leak too terribly bad. So here we go. Let's do this. When you're at a winery, one must partake of the wine, and if you're smart, you brought your own charcuterie. making the most of this day. So needless to say, the weekend was quite a disappointment. And I'm just not really sure how I feel about it. Well, no, I am. I'm sure how I feel about it. I feel very disappointed and unhappy about it. But it is what it is. Some things you just can't do anything about. Sometimes you can make all the contingency plans that are at your disposal, and they just don't make up for the fact that there are pieces and parts of the puzzle that you can't control. That is the biggest downside to markets, is that there are a lot of elements, especially if they're outdoor markets, that are just simply not within your control. So I guess the moral of the story is expect the best, but plan for the worst. So if you can't afford to make the investment to go in for a market, then maybe you shouldn't, especially if it's an outdoor market, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So don't invest hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars that you don't have to invest. Now, that said, you have to invest in your business in order to continue to grow a business. But we're not always in the same place at the same time, right? So if you're in the really, really wee beginning stages and you don't have the funds to invest in a big market, then maybe you should wait and invest in that market next year. So in the end, it's all about weighing the costs versus the benefits. Thanks for joining me today. I'm sorry I didn't have a more glowing vlog for the day, but it is what it is. All right, you guys take care. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.